Do you believe in serving others?
I do.
Why?
Well, I think that Jesus came here to show us how to live, and in everything that he did, that was his example. He served others. Um, Especially, I think oftentimes about him washing the feet of the apostles. That was a very strong message of his, was that you were to take the needs of others, place them first, and be of service just as he was. He was a different king. He didn't come to be served. He came to show us how to live and how to serve. In my earlier years, I did believe in service, but I unfortunately used service as a means of kind of pumping myself up. I served others, but without an awareness that I was also looking to be acknowledged for it. And my awareness of that bothered me greatly, because I think we're here to serve others, but not to make us feel good about ourselves, or to be held in esteem by others. It's legitimately to serve, to help, and to care out of love, not out of getting anything in return.
Do you actively participate in your church community?
Yes, actually, that I found it very rewarding, and with a recent move, I removed myself from some of the things I had been doing for years in my prior church, which I still go to often. I had been part of many groups, St. Vincent de Paul. I taught CCD. I was a church greeter, and pretty much with the church greeting and with teaching the little ones, I found great joy in that. I felt it was, I was very happy. Many of the older people go to the 7 o'clock Mass, and I developed nice relationships with them. I felt it was an honor to greet them on Sunday mornings and to have conversation with them, because it was very legitimate. It wasn't forced, it wasn't phony. I didn't have a fake smile. I liked being there. I liked being with them, and I liked the fact that we were all there for the same reason. And I actually delighted in teaching the little ones. I loved hearing them pray. I loved listening to them. I loved that hour on Sundays because it was fun. And I do believe that they were getting something out of it. So I would pray before I taught them, and I would pray a prayer of thanks afterwards. So those things I think I did with an appropriate heart. St. Vincent's, I did because I was asked, and I don't know. I don't think that was really where I was supposed to be. Anyway, I stepped out of my roles when I left and we moved, because I hadn't acknowledged the importance of God first and then family, and my family members found that I was gone too often away from the house, and that was true. That was legitimate, but I hadn't seen it or acknowledged it. So I tried to prioritize differently, and I'm still trying to find balance with that.
Do you believe in participating in the sacraments?
Without any question, yes. It's the sacraments, and as a matter of fact, that's the only place. I think we have so many commonalities in so many religions, and I have more recently acknowledged and become very aware of friendships with different religions, and I respect them totally. I see that we have so much in common, but I believe with the Catholic faith, I feel that I am extremely blessed to have the sacraments, because they are a way of strengthening, and I do believe that they are of God, and therefore each and every one of them is of utmost importance.
Do you feel obligated to participate in them?
I used to feel obligated, whereas now it's not an obligation. Like even just the mass, the way I feel in mass is totally different. I used to go to mass because in my head it was a very immature spirituality. It was like if I don't, God's going to be mad at me, and that very immature, spiritually speaking. I delight in Mass now. I like to be in the very back with my eyes closed and just completely and totally attentive, um, basically to prayer and to peace. So, and I look at communion. I used to just receive communion. It was the bread. I got it because I was supposed to. Now I see it as something completely different. I truly thank Jesus upon receiving the communion as well as the blood, and I ask for it to help strengthen me for that day. I try to go to Mass when I can, even during the week, not, to prove to people that I'm this wonderful Catholic. I do it out of a sense of need. Maybe I need it more than other people to stay on track, but I do find peace in it and strength.
Okay, 1 second. Do you think you'll be punished for not participating in the sacraments? You already kind of answered this. You used to think, right? But now.
I don't think that you're punished for not. I think the more that you do, the more your heart is open to the graces that result from the sacraments. Meaning, my whole life was uncomfortable with confession. I was fearful. I avoided confession, probably with good reason. I didn't really want to take an honest look at who I was, and I didn't even have an honest assessment of who I was. That was a gift through a spiritual director that I hadn't sought, who just kind of ended up in a parking lot one day and really opened my eyes to who I was, which was at first very troubling. But now, as I say, with confession, nobody's telling me you got to go once a month or you should go a couple of times a month. I feel a need to be there. I feel comfort in confession. I still get apprehensive because when I go, I want it to be honest. So I think the time of reflection before I go in and trying to really seriously think about what I have done since my last confession is huge. To go in and keep saying the same things over and over can be disheartening, because how sorry are you if you continue to do the same things? But I realize in my character and my personality, I have certain weaknesses. And by acknowledging those weaknesses in confession, and then I do believe in the absolution, it truly gives me grace and peace. So I don't think you're punished for not going. I think the more you go, the more your soul or your personhood directs you to continue, because you're getting something out of them. Nobody wants to continue. It's like even before I thought, if your kids aren't going to church, will you make them go? Kind of not really. That doesn't work. Other people have said to me, well, everybody will get something out of it. I don't necessarily believe that's true. I think unless their heart is open to being there, they're not going to listen and they're going to resent it. So what I prefer to do is step back, leave it in God's hands, and pray about it. If I pray for them to be open to His graces, and that's where He wants them to be, He'll lead them there.
Do you believe your needs or the needs of others come first?
Typically, for me, that's a loaded question, because I do believe very strongly in the needs of others. Therefore, my prayer was always directed for everyone else. And I think that's huge. I think acknowledging other people's needs and trying to help is absolutely huge, whether it's family or other people. But more recently, I've become aware that in order for me to continue to do that in a positive way, I can't be neglectful of my own needs, whether it's spiritually, emotionally, or physically. If I'm not healthy in any of those directions, I'm not able to give as much as I should to others. So, whereas before I never prayed for myself, I wasn't careful about my own physical health as far as, doctors or eating but I have, probably as I've journeyed more recently, as I say, become more aware of myself in many different directions. I realize that I can't give spiritually if I don't have spiritually, so of course I have to pray for myself. It's really important that I'm doing what he would wish me to do rather than what I would wish me to do, and how would I know that if I wasn't, literally asking for help myself. So I think I try to pray almost equally. Um, Pray that I'm spiritually, mentally, and physically capable of helping others, and that their needs are met the same way.
Do you care what others think of you?
I do, and honestly, for me, that's an issue. I had a very low self-esteem growing up, and that continued. And I found that the more I did for people, or the more that they acknowledged me, that I thought that that was kind of a confidence builder. But what I realized was I put on an awful lot of masks throughout the years, got lost with that. Being a people pleaser, I really thought that that's, and now I realize no, but I thought that's what God wanted. I thought by pleasing people I was pleasing God. Not at all. When you please people to please people, you're off the path. It's not so much what people think of me. I mean, that in the end, I was more so doing things for people for me. Totally off base. You don't, if you're not feeling good inside, getting all that compliments or esteem from others, it doesn't work. The way to find peace and the way to be on the right way is to be far less concerned with what people think of me, and far more concerned with, am I doing what's right in his sight? Because God's ways and our way of thinking are two entirely different things. So I now prefer to be more pleasing to him than to people. And I never realized there was a difference between the two until, as I say, through spiritual directing, and I'm still learning about that. Because I still worry that I tend to be a people pleaser sometimes, but it gives me a little nudge, like, did I say this or do this so that they would like me? So I've become aware of myself. And I think that's a better thing. I think a lot of people don't learn that until very later in their lives, much later.
Do the expectations of others matter to you?
Yes, and as I said, where I've become more aware of myself, they still do. But with that, I think I'm even here again trying to find balance. For example, at work, it's been very uncomfortable for the past couple of years. Authority there and administration is very difficult to work with. And so I found in trying to do what I was told all the time, I'm a teacher, it wasn't really giving the kids what they need, curriculum-wise, and even myself, for me to go in uncomfortable and nervous because somebody's going to come in with a computer and be writing me up because they didn't like the way I asked a question. That's not teaching. When I'm myself with the kids and school's fun, and school is learning, and school is treating them individually and giving them what I know they need, that's what teaching is. So I've